Hey guys. Okay, so I am going to try to make some, I'm going to make some pineapple tepache, and it's super easy. And so in case you want to try it, I'm just going to go ahead and make some and show you how easy it is. You just cut off the top, and I slice off the bottom of the pineapple. This is just an organic pineapple from the grocery store, nothing fancy. It's been sitting on my counter for a while. I'm sure it's still fine, even just for the flesh, but since I was going to ferment this anyway, I didn't worry about the fact that I've had it for a few days. And so I just cut the bottom off, and all that does is that just gives me a flat surface to work with. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim off the skin, but unlike how when you're trimming it to eat the flesh, I mean, it's actually the same, but you're actually after the skin. And so if I get in, and because this is a couple days old, the flesh isn't looking that hot, I don't care, because I'm really after the skin of the pineapple. So I'm gonna just take a generous slice and drop it in my jar. And one thing that I have learned doing all this fermenting is, you know, I'd heard things like that there's more microbes, like in the form of like yeasts and bacteria in our body than we have actual cells. There is all kinds of different yeasts and molds and bacteria completely surrounding us all the time, everywhere. So I'm sorry if you're a germaphobe and that totally freaks you out, but it was really eye-opening to me as I started these different cultures. You know, I started my kombucha SCOBY, and that ferment looks for a specific yeast and bacteria culture that they work together to create that SCOBY. And I started doing vinegar ferments, and I always have my sourdough starter going, and just all these different things, and it just amazes me that they always seem to find the right bacteria and molds and yeast, mostly bacteria and yeast. Mold's not such a great thing, but it's just everywhere. It's all around us, and actually our bodies, for the most part, obviously there are some bad ones, but for the most part our bodies thrive on it, and we need it. And a lot of the stuff that we're experiencing with autoimmune and allergies and all this stuff, they're starting to realize you can trace it back to gut health and how it's out of balance, that the typical North American diet is extremely detrimental to a healthy gut. And so your microbes in your gut get out of balance, and with everything else that's constantly bombarding our system, we get out of whack, and basically what's happening is your body is chugging along, trying to cope, trying to keep up, trying to get all these toxins out, trying to protect your cells, and it starts to wear out, it starts to chug out, and you start to see symptoms. So if anything that you can do that supports your gut health, supports your microbiome, then you're actually giving your body a fighting chance, and you'll actually, in a lot of cases, you'll see relief from some of these symptoms. So the fact that it's so good for you and it's so much fun, it's like having your own laboratory in your kitchen. So that's why I've gotten really into fermented foods. But so tepache is actually, it is a fermented pineapple drink. It was traditionally made with corn, but pineapple tepache is made with pineapple. And basically it's taking all of the healthy and the good bacteria and yeast that are on the pineapple, and it's using that to actually create a fermented drink. And there's a term that I've started to learn about that I didn't know anything about, and I probably don't know enough about to be talking about it, but what happens is this healthy yeast and healthy bacteria inoculate your brew. So what happens is it creates the right pH balance. You get enough of these healthy yeasts and bacteria in there that it actually protects your ferment from unhealthy, like mold and unhealthy bacteria. So it's, and I might not be saying this right, but I think I could be correct if I said it's sort of self-inoculating, it's sort of protecting itself. So so when I was making this before, a lot of recipes that you'll find online, so I just went ahead and put the rind, all the peels in there. Some people will put the rinds, but I've had a couple people, I'm chopping on the cutting board, and Billy, Bubba usually gets scraps. If I'm cutting cucumbers or carrots or just pretty much any vegetable that dogs are allowed to have, if I'm cutting on a cutting board, he gets scraps. So as soon as the cutting board comes out, you can't see him, but he's waiting patiently. So, and he's whining, which is what you might be hearing. Anyway, I had everything ready so that I could do this really quick because my videos go way too long. I have heard some people say that they put the rind in. Some people say that it can make your Tepache bitter. I've always put the rind in before, so I'm going to try it without this time. And then what I'll do, once I'm done with this, I'll just go ahead and slice this up, and then we have some really delicious pineapple to eat over the next couple of days. I'll actually maybe puree some of this and add it to some kefir water, and I'll have some pineapple kefir water because the kefir water will feed on the pineapple, and I'll get nice carbonation. It'll be a nice pineapple-y flavor. If you do like alcoholic beverages, when you make this pineapple tepache, you could mix it with like a nice sweet rum or like a spice rum or something. Would be really yummy as a cocktail. I don't know what the alcohol does to the probiotics in the drink, but it makes a really yummy drink anyway. So the other thing is, you'll see a lot of recipes online that call for cinnamon and cloves. Some will even put chilies. They'll actually chop up chilies, red chilies, and put them in there. I have just been doing it with cinnamon and cloves, and I just want to try it with just the cinnamon this time. I'm going to put in a cup of, there's a specific Mexican sugar, I think it's called picadillo, and that's what a traditional tepache calls for, but so far I live in a small town. I don't know if that's why, but I have a hard time finding it and just haven't gone to the trouble of ordering it online. So I just use organic brown sugar instead. And so I'm just going to do the cinnamon this time. I'm going to put in a cup of brown sugar. And then literally, and this is heavy, so I'm going to see if I can do this, but I like to use spring water versus purified water because purified water is basically just really clean tap water. Spring water still has all the minerals and stuff in it, so I feel like you're getting maybe a little bit of extra goodness. Might all be in my head, but I'm just going to fill this up. And then what I'm going to do is, when I get this pretty much filled to the top, I'm going to put there's a metal lid that came with this jar. I'm going to put the lid on and just give it a really, really, really good shake. Try to dissolve as much of that sugar as I can, but then I'm going to take that metal lid off, and I'm just going to put a coffee filter and a rubber band over top because I want this to breathe. And I'm just going to set it over on the counter in a relatively warm kitchen for a few days and check it. And I actually found the last time I made this that we're just about full. When I strained off my tepache after a few days, I actually took all the rinds and everything. I added more sugar, I added more cinnamon, and I added more water, and I made a second batch from the same skins. And the second batch was actually more fermented than the first. And that just reminds me, I actually have a little bit of my last tepache that I made in the fridge, and I was planning on adding that to it because I think it might just give it a bit of a kickstart. You're gonna hear rustle, rustle, crash, crash because of my full fridge. So this is what I have left of my last tepache brew that I have in the fridge, and I think that's going to give a really good kickstart to this brew. So it's almost like when you do a sourdough starter and you start with a little bit of sourdough, and then a little bit of the mother, the starter, and then you add your flour and your water to it. This is kind of the same principle. So I'll add the lid. Normally I would shy away from metal like this, but since I'm just going to be shaking it quickly and then taking it right off, I think it'll be okay. There are some fermenters out there who are purists about metal, and they won't let any metal come in contact with their ferments. And then there are some that say it doesn't matter. So you kind of just have to use your own best judgment. And this is a terrible jar. It won't, this is like sorry, no offense to Kroger, but I just got this at Kroger. So we'll see when I shake this if it goes everywhere. Yeah, it's going everywhere. But, okay, so since my lid isn't all that great, I'm gonna stop shaking it, but that's it. That's all you do. Set it on the counter for a few days and just check it. The thing with Tepache, if you decide that you like making it and you want to make it more than once, what you can do is every, after the first couple of days, every morning and evening, just give it a taste and you'll get to know what flavor, how strong you like it, and then that'll tell you how long you want to ferment it, because there's no right or wrong answer. Eventually, if I just left it out at room temperature, it would turn into like a pineapple vinegar. So you just have to gauge what you like for the taste. But that's pineapple Tepache. It's kind of like a pineapple beer, but there's not any significant alcohol in it. But it has a little bit of a yeasty taste, just to prepare you. I love it. I love it over ice. It's really refreshing, especially in the summer. I know we're heading into fall, but I think for autumn and all those yummy flavors would be really good too with the cinnamon. So that's it. I went longer than I meant to, but I hope you guys try it. Bye.